All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. My name is George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. Wow, I'm excited this week. I have so much stuff I can't even tell you. Okay, maybe I will tell you. But first, I just wanted to say happy birthday to my sister Danielle, who I found out does listen to the podcast. It was kind of a surprise, but no pressure there. Wow, the thousands of downloads I thought were people I didn't know. So just kidding. But anyway, let's start with the quote of the day. The quote of the day today is by Zig Ziglar, one of my favorites. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Isn't that a great quote? I love that. Well, okay, so getting into the topics this week. What drives your behavior right now? What drives your activity? Listen, I've spent my whole life on personal development, on this personal development journey. And probably like you, I'm continuously looking for ways to create the best version of myself, and I've been doing it since I was really young. And I can see now, looking back, that this has been both a blessing and a curse at times. It's led me to accomplish some amazing things, but it's also robbed me of the joy of the present on more than one occasion. Personal development has been able to help me to identify and magnify my strengths, but it's also helped me to identify and sometimes dwell a little bit too much on my weaknesses. My friend and mentor and now partner Robert Stuberg has always taught me that our thoughts create our life. And you've heard me say this many times. I've also learned that our thoughts are determined by the questions that we ask ourselves. Those little voices inside our head. You know the one I'm referring to. That's the voice that you constantly talk to, or maybe you argue with at times back and forth. But, there's something else I've learned, and that is that the key to influencing your thoughts and your questions that you ask yourself is to identify that presupposition and to know that there's this presupposition that exists behind all of those questions and thoughts that we have. Let me give you an example. I often ask myself, how can I do this better? In other words, every time I accomplish something in my life, whether it's personal or professional or business, I'm actually presupposing that maybe I'm not doing something good enough, or it's not going to be good enough because I'm always thinking of how I can do it better. As a result, I'm rarely happy with the work that I've done, even if it's light years ahead of the average, or even if it's more than good enough to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. I don't know if maybe you can relate. Maybe there's some things in your areas, of your life, or things that you struggle with the same way. Many of your thoughts are driven by questions that you ask yourself that you have a horrible or an unproductive presupposition to. A benchmark maybe that's just unattainable. You have to start changing your perspective and your filter on what these presuppositions are. That's the secret to changing the questions that you're asking yourself, which determine your thoughts. For example, what are some of the questions you're asking yourself? Like, am I good enough? Well, you are good enough. What are they thinking of me? Well, who cares what other people think? Why, maybe ask yourself, why is life so complicated? Why does this always happen to me? Well, maybe it's complicated for a reason so that you can get stronger. Or maybe it happens to you because if not, you're going to be weak. Maybe that's a good thing that it happens to you. You might ask yourself, why can't I catch a break? These are the questions that we ask ourselves, which are determining our thoughts and driving our behavior. The problem is that we're setting ourselves up for failure from the beginning because we're starting from a place of presupposition that doesn't serve us. We create these impossible benchmarks for ourselves, and even though we're probably, progressing in our journey, and if we look back, we've made a lot of progress, we simply don't recognize and appreciate the progress. So, the solution, this is kind of a spoiler alert for the week, right, is that we have the ability to create and control and reprogram the presuppositions that are ultimately determining these questions and stories and things that are determining the thoughts in our life. We just need to make a conscious decision to rearrange the source of all of our questions, the presupposition. We can influence the entire process and create a totally different outcome when we do this. This will create more happiness, fulfillment, and success in our lives. I've seen it happen. It's happened for me. Now I know that this is easier said than done, which is why this leads me to what I want to talk to you about this week. Maybe I'll be talking to myself mostly, but most likely it's something that you will also be able to relate to. and this discussion will be helpful for you and give you some inspiration and motivation to move forward. So this week I want to unpack this conversation of, what drives your behavior and activity. I want to offer a few suggestions on how you can break it down and reprogram how you frame your questions and thoughts in your life, and as a result, create massive increases in your results and productivity. So here are the things that I want to talk about this week and dig into, and we'll discuss each of these in much more detail in the podcast. But I also created a blog article that outlines this on the website and also on the mobile app. So episodes 196 through 200, this week we're going to go through just 10 minutes a day, these different topics. Can you believe, by the way, we've done 200 episodes? That's crazy. Anyway, here are the areas. Number one, it's a question. Are you focusing on pleasure or pain? See, most of us are either chasing pleasure or running from pain, and identifying which one of these has influenced your decisions and actions is a key. And you need to find a way to move towards abundant thoughts for better results, which leads me to number two is, are you operating from a place of abundance or scarcity? When we struggle, we're usually operating out of scarcity. The best solutions, they don't come from scarcity, they come from abundance. They come from starting at solution and positive thinking. And scarcity usually builds up over time, and it takes effort to kind of break this down because it's building blocks of things that have added up. So you can't just change it. You've got to kind of break it down a bit. Number three, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's the story you're telling yourself and you're operating from. We all have a story that we tell ourselves. It drives the source of our questions and thoughts and results. But this story is also that key component of the presuppositions that we're telling ourselves. Am I good enough? What are they thinking of me? Why isn't this good enough? Why is my life so complicated? Why has this happened to me? Why can't I catch a break? That person has it easier. Those people have better, things like that, whatever. And we're going to talk about, some examples of that and, what the story is and how you can kind of rewrite your story, because I really believe you can. And then lastly, we're going to jump into what are your limiting beliefs and how can you get past them? What are your limiting beliefs that kind of make up this story? Tony Robbins and many others are well known for talking about this topic of limiting beliefs. But I want to take a little bit of time and unpack and learn what you have, what I have had, what we're doing with these limiting beliefs and why we have them. We really need to dig into what they are, why they're there, and how we can sort of reframe them. Then find a way to rewrite this story and limiting beliefs in a way that does serve you. Rewrite it in a way that will be more empowering for these questions. And when you ask empowering questions, that's going to make a huge difference in your life. So there's always a way to rewrite the story. I mean, you need to remember this, and I've said it before. You're the author. You're the main character. Sometimes you're the villain, but you are most certainly, no question, you are the hero of your story. So you have to find a way to become the hero of your story. You need to make the decision that maybe you're only in chapter 5 or 6 or 7 of a 20-chapter book. Because when you realize that, your perspective shifts. Maybe you're at the moment where it's just about to be a turn of events. Maybe you're right in the middle of a chapter that's very dramatic. Maybe you're in the middle or end of a second or third dramatic chapter. But the bottom line is you're just in the middle of your story, and you absolutely need to know that the story is far from over. The happy ending can always come. The hero will always show up. Maybe at the last possible moment, but the hero will always show up, and the events will most certainly turn in your favor. How do I know this? Because you're the author. You write the ending, so write it. But some serious, thought you've got to put into this, right? You've got to be able to think about what the next chapter is going to be like, and you don't have to write the ending. See, that's the key. That's the secret. You literally don't have to know how the book ends. You just need to know how the next chapter is going to go, and know that chapter is going to be a turn of events in your favor, and that you can write that into your life story. Unless you want a little bit more drama first, sometimes that makes for a bigger comeback, right? A better story is sometimes a lot of drama, so that's a good thing, right? But you're not suffering from a setback. You are setting yourself up for a comeback, guaranteed. Guaranteed, because you are the author of your story. You are the hero of your story. I truly believe that if we want to change our lives, we need to dig into the problem and work backwards to the source of the creation of that problem. Your thoughts are determined by the questions you ask yourself. Your thoughts and your questions have a presupposition wired into your minds and actions. And we can create and control and filter what that presupposition is, what the foundation, the values, and the things are that create our story. But, listen, it's going to take some work. It's going to take daily rituals, daily focus, persistent action to wire and reprogram these things in our lives and our minds. But I believe you can do it. I'm doing it every single day. I'm here to support you, which is why I created the Daily Mastermind. Take advantage of those tools and resources and thoughts that I put into the podcast and the Daily Mastermind mobile app. They're there to inspire and motivate you. You have the solutions. I don't. None of these things we've created out of nowhere. They're time-proven principles. Download that app if you haven't on iTunes and Google Play. And listen, do me a favor. Tell a friend or share this podcast with somebody today. It'll mean the world to me, and it will most likely make a huge difference for them in their lives and the struggles that they're dealing with. So anyway, that's my message for today. I look forward to talking with you throughout the week. We're going to have some really cool stuff to do. And by the way, at the end of this month, we're going to be unveiling the Daily Mastermind website, the new website, the products, the academy, mentoring, all the stuff that's coming out. So stay tuned. It's going to be some amazing stuff. For those of you that are just joining, my name's George Wright III, and this has been the Daily Mastermind. Have an amazing day.